What is up, guys? It's Eason here.
And my name is Joe.
Welcome to the Let Us Witness podcast.
Yeah, in this podcast, we talk about our lives and how we can help each other walk better in the way of Jesus. Before we move on, I just want to remind you guys about a couple of things. I know it's the first episode, but we want to start opening up to you already. If you ever want to reach out to us, there's two ways, mainly. We'd like to open up our Gmail email to you. It's called the Let Us Witness Gmail. Let Us Witness with 4 S's at gmail.com. So that would be LETUSWITNESSSS at gmail.com. And then that's one way to reach out to us. And then the other is the IG for Let Us Witness, which is just at Let Us Witness. You can DM us there, and please give us a follow if you like our content. And Eason will give us the verse of the day, which is...
Awesome. The verse of the day is from 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. This is the word of God. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. For this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus.
Very cool, very cool. And so the topic for today is, it's our first episode, and we just like to maybe introduce ourselves and lay the groundwork for the rest of the episodes to come. So we talked about this episode being about just Eason and I opening up our lives to you as much as humanly possible and as honestly as we can. And hopefully in that way we can help you and ourselves too. We can help each other walk better in the way of Jesus. So I guess I can start with my testimony, if that's okay with Eason. Or
yeah, of course. Yeah. So Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you come to become a Christian? Yeah.
Right. So once again, my name is Joseph Valdez, but you can call me Joe for short. And the way I came to be a disciple of Jesus is it's a very selfish story, to be honest. I was in high school, and my class was hosting this party where we asked for letters of appreciation from our friends and family. And it was a retreat, and we all read the letters at the end of the retreat, basically. And I wanted to look cool in front of my classmates and ask only for letters from girls. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
Understandable.
We were in high school, right? And the hormones are raging, and I'm trying to impress all my classmates. So whatever. And so this one girl who I asked actually told me, like, okay, look, we have not spoken in forever, and I don't know why you're asking me for a letter, but I'll do it. In exchange, though, you have to go to this event that's happening in this location. And it's a churchy event, but I'll give you the letter at the event. So in exchange, you have to go to this event. I'll give you the letter. Just go. Meet me there. And so I did. And it happened to be I think it was like the 20th or 25th anniversary of the youth ministry of that church, which is the church that I think my family and I still plan on attending to this day, whenever I fly back to the Philippines. And so, that was the first time I heard the gospel at the anniversary celebration of a youth ministry. And really, although I came from a religious background, that was the first time that the gospel was really introduced to me in such a way, where it was about Jesus saving us from our sins. And it was about cultivating this relationship of walking with God. And so it started from there in high school. I was pretty weak. My faith walk was pretty weak in college, and even transitioning to the States, it was still pretty weak. I think I'm a little better now, but I'm getting there. At this point, I'd like to turn the tables to Eason. I'm getting a lot of radio time here. Eason, what was your introduction to walking with Jesus like?
Wow. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Joe. That was honestly really inspiring, really powerful. Because I feel like despite like the circumstances, right, like which to use whatever means that God uses through the people around us, it got us to hearing the gospel and it got us to
Right,
believe in, to where
right,
we
right.
are today, right? So yeah, let me share a little bit about my story of coming to Jesus. So I think I grew up in a church ever since I was like 3 years old, and I believe even before then, when I was in my mom's like womb, like she would bring me to church. So even as a baby, before I was even born, but I
Right.
was not a believer.
Mm,
I think I just going to Sunday school. I had a lot of head knowledge. I knew a lot about Jesus, but I did not know him personally. But yeah, that continued until I think I continued to go to church until I was a junior in high school.
mm,
And that is like when I just kind of put a stop on this going to church thing. I gave
mm,
it many reasons. Like I'm too busy with schoolwork, especially like I guess people would know that in America, high school is kind of intense. Like that's the important years to lay the foundations on where you're going to college and what your future may look like. Just through these many reasons, I decided to stop going. I think the turning point came in college. I guess during college, I got good grades. I lived like a very secular life. I would go to parties, like if I was invited to one, not very often, but I was still kind of like just enjoy like a normal life per se.
mhm,
And to most people, it may seem like a good and successful life, but only I knew, like deep down, I was very unsatisfied with
mm,
what life was like. And it's like it's hard to describe this satisfaction. It was just like something very empty, And
mhm,
while
mhm,
things were going well, I was hardly ever truly happy. And I had a
mhm,
personal encounter with Jesus when my friend Emily invited me back to church. And as soon as I step into that building, in the first service I've attended for like in years, I just felt
mhm,
like it was a huge part of my life that I've been missing out on.
mm.
And I truly enjoyed it. And soon afterwards, maybe not many months after that, at a prayer meeting, I just felt the Holy Spirit's presence. And at that moment, I teared up, like just uncontrollably, no reason why, and decided that I would devote my life to Jesus.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was the first time in church that you had gone since junior high.
Yeah, I know.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
What were the like? Okay, so at this point, let's let's talk about maybe um the things that were obstacles in getting to know Jesus at the young age, maybe that we were at. So we're talking like junior high slash high school right now. That was way back.
I
That's
know.
definitely for me way back. What was it like? Were you hesitant when your friend asked you back to go to church in college?
Yeah, definitely I was. In fact, like it wasn't like a very smooth process either, right? Like, my friend almost had to dare me to go, right?
Dear.
In a sense, like she was like, "You should come to church," and my response was like, "Yeah, maybe I'll check it out," right? In my mind, I was just like, "Yeah, maybe if if things go well, like sure, why not?" But then she immediately said, "Oh, that's a no." And I think because of that statement she made, I was kind of like challenged in a way that it made me want to go even more. And I'm really glad, God used her like that, just
She used
to,
reverse psychology.
yeah, to invite me out. So, praise God. Yeah, in a way, it kind of felt like the prodigal son, even though I didn't like blow all my money. But, it is true that God uses the people around you to bring you back to Him, right?
He turned away from the faith, prodigal son, right? I think it's interesting to point out that in both cases where we were, in your case, reintroduced to the gospel, I was it was kind of coming to it for the first time for me. In both cases, I think they were both girls. That
Yeah.
did you like this girl?
Good question. Hard to say. Hard to say.
Okay. let's do this. Did you find her attractive in any way?
Oh yeah, definitely. But we're
Yeah.
good. We're good friends. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought the girl that I asked a letter from was cute too. I think it's interesting to point out how God used a very selfish. Well, for me, it was selfish. I was trying to prove that I was cool by knowing a lot of girls, showing all these letters from girls. Were you trying to impress the girl in any way or something like that?
Not with going to church, I would say. Yeah. But
Mm.
I did want to get to know her more, like back then. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there were some selfish intentions there, but God used them
That's true. That's true.
to bring us closer to Him. That's interesting. How was the college walk? I think that's the next logical step here.
Yeah. I think college walk was very interesting for me, right? I got saved. I believe my second year of college, and I think that was when everything changed, right? Like, going like literally 180, from like just living a secular life and what people seem to be like successful. I think I got plugged into the church community at my college relatively well. And after baptism, I decided to come on the small group leadership team. And I think that has been just big blessing, right? Just growing in my faith, and also just, being that kind of like big brother role in a sense, like to
Mhm.
the younger college believers at our fellowship.
That's awesome. He became a leader pretty quickly.
Yeah, honestly, I did. Yeah. And I just felt called to do it. Like it wasn't like, oh, I really want to do this. Because like I was like, oh, I guess in a sense, like because I want to look cool or anything, right? But I think I really just felt that calling, like that. I think that was like my very, very first calling to want to do bivocational ministry in a sense, like you kind of have your career track going forward, right? But you also devote yourself to any type of ministry at church.
Nice. Awesome. And still going to church this day, right?
Yes, that is
Yeah.
correct. Even in the
Yeah.
time of COVID-19
COVID.
quarantine, I still I still believe like even gathering online is a
Online.
good way of connecting with brothers and sisters.
Right. We can get into that later. Uh, yeah, my college experience was, well, I was a pretty naughty kid. I mean, I looked good on the outside. I had a girlfriend. Um, it was a interesting relationship, so to speak. It
How
was
so?
well, it was rocky, and there was a lot of things that were inappropriate that have been said and done in the relationship. Um, I was I was hesitant to break her heart. That's essentially what happened when I broke it off with her, and that's a gory story, but it had to happen. What triggered it was moving to the States. Um, it wasn't working out, and I couldn't continue anymore. The long distance thing was killing me, but I think it was long coming. That relationship was not. Um, I don't think that was pleasing to the Lord. Unfortunately, I don't harbor any bad feelings towards her today, but that was not good. I was also a terrible student. I uh, I was doing the bare minimum just to make it. And even when I moved to the States, I was doing just the bare minimum effort to make. Not that I was like I was making D's and C's and F's and stuff like that, but I wasn't shining. I guess you could say I was lazy. But anyway, relating that back to the walk, yeah, it was a time of growth. I was not really close to the Lord, um, and I was kind of like you, just trying to have fun, not taking the walk seriously. I did go to church with my family in my college years, and I went to Bible study and stuff like that, and was going to retreats, but there was a definite part of me that was like that it was a dual life. So I had my life with my girlfriend, and I had my life with the church, and I was good at turning it on and off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us could definitely relate to that, right? And it's, I guess in a type of sense, like that inconsistency in our life really did make us uncomfortable, right? But then also, like it's hard to find a way to like break out of it, right? And then stay true to God in a sense where we are, where we have like integrity in front of people and behind people, right? So
Right.
that's definitely, man, it's a journey. It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
I think a lot of my friends could see through the dual life. It's probably something that ruins my testimony for some people.
Yeah.
Did, did you, was it a pretty dual life for you also, or?
I think, yeah, from time to time, right? I feel like there are definitely moments in the valleys where I'm just like, oh, okay, as someone in leadership, you kind of have to appear one way, right? Like you kind of have to appear like, oh, this guy is like holy, this guy is like doing all the right things. But then, yeah, I think definitely still sinned a lot, like,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it just didn't feel right, didn't feel good, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, to this day, I mean, would you agree that, I mean, I still sin?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. There
all the
are,
time.
so that's something that we'll bring up, I think we'll try to bring up consistently throughout following episodes and starting today. There is an element to duality in the Christian's life all the time because there's still, the sin struggle is still real, even
Yeah.
though we are trying to follow Jesus with all we've got. But there are very real moments in my private life and even in public where I don't really represent him well.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, because also like sanctification is a process, right? Because
Yeah,
in the Bible it does say, in our flesh we cannot love Jesus as we should, right?
right,
And it's really by the help of Holy Spirit,
right.
and through prayers, right, and we can have the strength to fight these things. And I think, yeah, one good advice I've gotten is always have accountability, to have people around you that loves God and loves you, that will really just are willing to speak truth into your life. And you really just do these like help and accountability and through prayers that we'll be able to shine light onto those sins and really just like turn from those.
Yeah. You just brought up something really good, actually. So the topic of accountability. I
Yeah.
think we should. I think for this platform, we should use it not only to be accountable to each other, but even to our audience. Like,
Yeah.
uh, so I think we should state this now. I mean, if there's something that's troubling us in our walk, we should try to be maybe open about it on
Yeah.
the podcast. Yeah, and if you the audience member would like to be open about anything and ask us questions or prayers and such, again, you can reach out to us via Gmail or IG. And we really want this to be as interactive as possible. We just want this podcast to be about helping each other out, walking with Jesus, alongside Jesus, and with the rest of the church in this honestly weird time of COVID, and where all kinds of crazy things are going on in the culture at the same time, et cetera, et cetera. We can get into detail further on down the podcast. So we talked about college. We're working adults now, officially.
Yeah. Whew, praise God.
Yeah. And I think this would be the main meat of the podcast. Well, how about you talk about your work? What's your line of work, Eason?
I currently work as a software engineer in the Bay Area right now.
All right. And we're
Yeah. What
both in
about
the
you,
Bay
Joe?
Area.
Yeah. What about you, Joe? Tell us what you do.
Yeah, I'm a music teacher at the San Jose Academy of Music, and I teach violin, guitar, and drums mainly. A little bit of music theory if the student is interested, but that's beside the point. Yeah, and we both come across instances where we probably have instances where we have the opportunity to bring up Jesus. Do we? Do you think we do that often enough, or?
Definitely not
Yeah.
enough, not often enough. And I think the one hard thing, right, is like even through work, even through like old friends, right, who were not believers, it takes a lot of courage to like bring
Heck
up the
yeah.
conversation, right? Like there are definitely all these thoughts behind
Yeah.
in our head, like, oh, what if I like say this to my coworker and then like gets disciplined for doing that, right? And where what if I like say try to testify to a friend and then I lose this friendship. I think these are all
Yeah.
definitely concerns we have like in the back of our mind, right? And I think definitely, I think throughout these episodes, we want to kind of talk about what that wrestling and struggling is like, and what are some like good opportunities that we can spot to share the gospel, and then when else to kind of spot when to recognize like when it's not a good time to share and when is a good time to share.
Oh my goodness, that's so true.
Yeah.
Man, when was the last time you shared?
Let me see. I would say maybe a couple months ago. I would say a couple months ago.
Come on, that's pretty recent. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I still need to follow up with that friend though.
So you want to talk about it? How was it?
I think it was good. I think I was able to present the gospel in a holistic way, right? And then she had a lot of questions. My friend had a lot of questions. I feel like I was able to answer those questions in a satisfying way, like at least satisfying way. Like, but I think her worldview comes from like her background is in the biological sciences, right? And definitely through the lens of like, I guess contemporary science, it's really hard for her to reconcile some of the biblical teachings compared to what her worldview is like, right?
Yes, yeah.
I think even then, it's still good to share, right? And because the core of the gospel is all about Jesus, right? And I feel like if you believe, like, I feel like there are other like more secondary beliefs that, while important, is not a make or break of someone's faith.
Yeah. Wow. That's you got in deep there. Yeah. Happens a lot in the science community. The logic does not seem to add up to belief in God. It happens a lot. And I guess at my end, it's been a long time since I shared with someone. I was still in school the last time I shared.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that was a friendship ender.
Sorry
yeah.
to hear that.
Yeah, I was finishing up my master's. That was the tail end of my master's program at University of Illinois. And yeah, my friend did not take it well. We talked about, because she was very political, and she took that into the argument. You know, when someone is very political, they're super opinionated about so many things, right. And it's hard to penetrate that with Jesus into the mix. So it was really difficult, and it was just one disagreement after another. So
I see. Yeah, and I think yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, and I feel like to share the gospel is because you truly love the person, right? Truly love your neighbor, because you want to see them saved. You wouldn't want them to go through their life not knowing or even haven't heard the gospel, right? And we truly want everyone to be saved. That is the heart of Jesus. And but yeah, I think speaking of like strong political opinions, right? I think one thing that I've came to appreciate a lot is that though like two parties disagree or on like political or even theological stuff, right? I feel like people can disagree really politely, and even though you have different opinions, I think I still really appreciate being able to have civil conversations about these things. And at the end of the day, our differences in our political stances shouldn't really divide us.
Heck yeah. Oh man, you're going into that's borderline the controversial stuff that we want to tap into as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Down the line. But that's so true. I think a lot of people find it hard. Just in the culture right now, we're finding it hard to agree to disagree and just get along. Um,
It's true.
it's also personally hard for me to draw the line where, okay, do I just keep quiet or should I share? You know, it's so hard.
Yeah.
Because if I keep quiet too long, I don't think that helps the kingdom agenda either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's something that needs to be prayed about. This is the reason why I haven't shared in a long time. It's like, okay, I've kept quiet. I'm trying not to step on people's toes. And I think in general, people can, if they have no idea, I think most people can kind of guess that I'm kind of a Christian-y guy. But I, for the most part, have been pretty silent about it. So I'm finding it hard to strike a balance between, okay, when do I bring up Jesus, or when is it time to talk? Because you mentioned there's a right time and a wrong time to do it. And I mean, do you have any ideas how to do that?
That's a good question. Let's reserve that for another episode. That we
Okay,
would dive
sure.
deeply into this topic. Yeah. But I think just like off of the top of my head, right? I feel like you do have to observe and recognize opportunities where people are interested about why we're so different. Like as Christians, we're called to be salt and light of the earth, right? And I feel like just by living out that, living our life inconsistent with our belief, right? That will just strike an big exclamation mark in a lot of people's head, or even question mark. They will be curious on like why we do what we do, right? I feel like when those things come up and you do recognize like a opportunity, it would be a good time. And then I think just some like bad times would be like, oh, maybe when you're in a meeting, when everyone's focus is on like work, it would be a little bit, I think,
Right.
not the right time to be like, hello, I'm here to testify about Jesus today. You know, like I guess, time and opportunity are important.
Bring up Jesus in the middle of talking about the agenda, the company agenda. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that might not be too appropriate.
Yeah.
Right. We've brought up a lot of very, very good topics already. Let's rehash some of them just for the sake of keeping the podcast topics coherent. So accountability is one of them. We want to be accountable, not just between Eason and I, but to our audience and to any audience member that feels like opening up. Please, I mean, we're not pastors, but we would love to join you in prayer for anything. So accountability is one. Yeah. We've also touched on difficulties in the faith walk. That's one of the big things we want behind the driving force of this podcast. At least that's what we intend to do. We want to share from our perspectives what it's like to try and follow Jesus. And hopefully you can relate and at least to the struggle of trying to follow, because I think Eason will agree that it's not always easy.
Yeah, it is definitely not. I think in John 16:33, Jesus said, "In this life you will have trouble," and I think that's very true, right? Knowing Jesus and following Him is not an easy life, and it's not an easy path to heaven, right? And so we know that in our faith journey, we will face adversity, we will face difficulties. And I feel like just we're already super blessed to live in America already, right? Because I feel like if you live in some other foreign countries, The Christians there who is vocal about their faith even faces persecution, even danger to their lives, And yeah, I think it's really fortunate for us to be able to live in a country where we can kind of voice our opinion freely. And you can disagree with us, hopefully politely, but that's okay.
These are all fantastic topics for a future podcast. Yeah, I grew up in the Philippines. I moved to the States 2011. So I have experience on living in another country for sure. You grew up in Taiwan, right?
I did. I grew up in Taiwan and moved here when I was in like 7th grade. So about like 10 years ago. Yeah, kind of similar timeline to yours.
That was only 10 years ago for you that you moved
Yeah.
here?
Yeah. About 10 years, I think.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm turning 23 this week. So.
Oh my goodness.
So almost 11 years. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I guess it wasn't too long ago then for both of us. So mine was 9 years ago. So it's not crazy different. It's not a huge, 11 and 9 is not a huge difference. Cool. The other thing that we would like to discuss heavily throughout this podcast, I think we should anyway, is learning from each other and from our audience members how to better share Jesus in our current state of affairs in this world. It's super hard, I think, in a lot of ways, even now. I think it was hard enough before COVID, but now even more so. And right now, without getting too specific, we're living in an interesting time in history, just not only in America, I think, but in the world with COVID.
Shelter in place.
Yeah. And
quarantine.
Yeah. And I mean, we're entering a time where things are getting so political. It's crazy. At least I think everything is starting to get way too politically charged. And it's hard to navigate through this culture with the gospel. So it's just hard. And we want to be able to walk hand in hand and hopefully get a community going of believers and even non-believers, hopefully down the line, I hope, who either want to learn more about Jesus or learn how to follow Jesus better, or both.
I agree.
And I mean, that's all related to our verse of the day. So, I mean, in whatever circumstance you find yourself, you want to try and shower every decision with prayer. And no matter how hard it may seem, you want to lift up your difficulties to the Lord in prayer and rejoice in that, all the time. I think that would be the point of the Thessalonians verse today. It's not easy to pray and rejoice all the time in these circumstances, but we're trying. You got anything to add, Eason?
Yeah, I think the verses today like really spoke to me, right? And I feel like especially facing the uncertainties that we're facing right now about the future, we don't really know when the pandemic will end. We don't know when we'll be able to see more family and friends, and yeah, it's just really hard not knowing what the future may look like. But I think through prayers, we can, as believers, we can feel so reassured. That even though we don't know what it may look like on the other side of the tunnel, God knows what His plans are for all of us, and I think we can be fully confident in that.
Yeah, dude, that's so true. I think to conclude, do you think we should wrap this up? Or
I think so.
Yeah. We're this is great for a first episode. I think to conclude, I think there's no God being God. There's no historic event that takes Him by surprise. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think so. I think everything is under the sovereign control of His will.
Right. Yeah. So this is definitely, I think this is a controversial opinion already. Just stating that, so Eason and I are in agreement with this, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Um, that means COVID-19 does not take God by surprise. Um, that means that a lot of the hot button topics that get talked about in the culture and quarantine, um, all these things don't take God by surprise. And there's lots of questions that can probably pop up just off of those statements.
That's true.
But we're learning how to navigate knowing all this and learning how to trust Jesus better through all this. Yeah, and with that, we conclude the awesome first step. I think it was a good first episode.
Yeah. To our
Anything else, Eason?
Yes, to our listeners, we just really thank you and appreciate you for tuning in today. Yeah, this is the end of the first episode of Let Us Witness.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for listening. If you so happen to get to at the end of the podcast, remember you can reach out to us at letuswitness@gmail.com. Witness has 4 S's. And you can reach out to us on Instagram at Let Us Witness. DM us and hopefully give us a follow. And so there you have it. God bless, guys.
Peace.
See you. Yeah. Good job, Eason. See you in the next episode. Bye, guys.